This podcast is brought to you by our sponsor, Offer. Head on over to offer.com right now. Type in the code word paths and get yourself 20-ish% off their range of anti-masturbatory products. I myself have been indulging in the cayenne pepper sauce lately. How it works is you get the urge to do the thing. You rub the sauce on your hands and that's it. You're not going to do the thing. You know what I'm saying? I lately have been using it for my tacos because that's right. It serves a dual purpose. You know, when you feel like you have abstained long enough and you don't need the cayenne pepper sauce, boom, you just put the rest on your food. Fucking tremendous. Plus it comes in like this convenient low-key bottle, you know, so you can take it with you in public. And that's really good for when you're eating on the go. You know, it's not like one of those big fuck off bottles that, you know, you don't want to let people know you have an addiction to sauces out in public. So it helps. It's like one of those like little squeezer bottles, so sort of like a alcoholic would keep a flask. You know, it's like one of those sort of designs. Anyway, our guest today is my good friend Melissa Kearney, or Kearney. I think it's Kearney. Kearney? I feel really bad now. No, I don't feel bad. I'm just saying that because it's like a socially accepted thing that after you make a fuck up, you say, I feel really bad, even though you don't really feel anything. But she's cool with it. She's not gonna give me a hard time if I mispronounce her name. Actually, no one's gonna give me a hard time if I mispronounce her name, you know what I'm saying? Because my name is the most hard name to pronounce correctly. Anyway, she's our guest today. I wanted to get a guest on that I met in the glory days of my life, where I can truly be myself around, because I need to work on myself as a host. I have issues, and I'm working out these issues, and you're on this journey with me as I work out these issues. So me and Mel, we have a good chat, a good catch up. We haven't seen each other for a while, so it's helpful to keep the conversation flowing. But also Mel is a student of international studies. You know, there's a lot of shit going on in the world, especially now, I guess. And while we don't really touch on COVID, Mel is quite well versed in stuff that's happening all over the world that isn't really covered too much, and sort of gives you an idea of what you'd be getting yourself into. Not what you'd be, I guess what your focus would be if you were going to partake in a career in international studies. Or international relations, I should say, but you know, what you learn is international studies, I think. So Mel has recently finished her degree, and she did an exchange in Israel, I think, I hope. And yeah, she's going to drop some knowledge on us. Give it up for Mel.
Damn. All right.
So anyway, yeah, what were we talking about, like, right before?
Are we recording? Is this part of the podcast?
Yeah, that's part of the podcast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's all good. Like, if that was part of the podcast, then, like, it's all good.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know what we were talking about before. Tea?
Tea, yeah.
I feel like we went to something after tea.
Yeah, we went to food, but only as a metaphor for tea.
That's true. But yeah. I actually saw this really cool concept. It was like a self-care box, and you just get like a little box and you put in like all the things that make you happy, and you have to get like something for each of one of your senses.
That's cool.
And then if you like feel sad, you can just like go to the box. Like, you know, when you're like, oh, I feel really sad, and like I want a self-care, but what is self-care? You just like have this box and you open it and you can, yeah.
That's nice.
So I need to like pick a tea to put in.
What would be your tea?
Well, Russian Caravan at the moment, yeah. But
I knew that, but I wanted to say it. I wanted to still ask it because like the audience can't read our minds and they can't go back
That's
to the
true.
conversation we just had. So
Ridiculous.
yeah, that one was. I am paying attention, Mel. So one for each sense. So like,
So you have like
teas for your taste.
teas for taste, or you could have like a little bit of chocolate or something, if that's your thing. And then eyes, you can get like a picture that you like if it's like a picture of your like family. Sight, hearing. I do this with my Spanish. You know that eyes and ears and mouth and nose.
Yeah.
I tried to learn that in Spanish, and like I can't. I just But I know heads and shoulders, knees and toes in Spanish.
What is it?
Cabezas, hombras, rodillas, pedos. No, dedos.
Dedos?
Fuck.
Sorry. We're
Dedos.
No Spanish people. It's fine. Oh.
I went off track, but yeah.
No, there is.
Okay.
That's perfectly on track. Is Spanish like the first language that you're learning that's other than English?
I learnt Latin for like 6 years, and which is a cool language that like in that it's not useful at all and you can't speak it.
Yeah.
Because the way I remember my Latin teacher was saying that like the way even if people are like I know Latin really well I can speak it.
Yeah.
They're not pronouncing it correctly, like because their accents apparent like we don't really know how they spoke it.
Yeah.
So you just learn to translate it back into English. So
Wow.
yeah, like you don't even learn how to like write Latin. Like I was never taught like here's how you count to 10 in Latin. They just give you these like really intense poems about like like gods raping people, and then they have a tree baby.
Yeah.
And then you know the word for like rape and kill and servant. But
So you can use it. It's like
you could use it, but I couldn't like put together a sentence. I remember servus was like slave. Like that's
so you're like it's mad for like sending messages containing like illegal like dope
That's
shit
true, yeah.
to like your friends to like all your little like
yeah, true. I could be like
activities.
let's take down the government, but
Yeah.
in Latin.
That's what it's for.
Yeah. And also for like you know how most schools their motto is in Latin?
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes it's wrong
Are
grammatically,
you kidding?
and that's so satisfying. I'm like that grammar's not correct. Yeah.
Do you feel like as an adult you just like notice a lot of shit that's like wrong and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Well, when I was a kid, like everything had to be like perfect, but it's
Yeah.
like everyone's
I feel like that's growing up where you're like you're a kid and you're like one day I'll have it all, and then you're like nah,
no one has anything.
no one. Yeah. What about you? Because you know Greek.
Yeah.
Is that it?
I know Greek. I took some Japanese once.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I was like semi learning a bit of Mandarin. But like I don't really like. I don't think I studied as much as I studied Spanish. And like I took like a class. There was like some classes that I took as well. So like
That's cool.
yeah, I feel like I'm not. It's not just Duolingo. It's like a bit more. Like yeah.
I feel like it's what you're aiming for. Like Spanish was the first time. Like when I did Latin, I was a kid and I had to do it. So I was kind of like, I'm just doing this for the exams.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Spanish, I'm like, I want to be fluent and it can help me get a better job. So like I need to like commit.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, I learned like Italian in high school for like 1
Damn.
year and like French for 1 year.
I did that too, actually. Yeah.
It's fun. Also, do you remember any of either? Like
Un chien
yeah,
and un chat is like all I remember.
I
from
remember
French.
Le Rat, but I don't know if that's French or Italian purely because like there was a kid that was teasing another kid. Like, so I remember that, and then everything else I fucking forgot because like we're gonna force you to learn this for 1 year and then like.
And you do it like
because-
once a week as well, so it's
Yeah.
not, yeah.
I was like, what if we like did like Italian both years, or like we actually learnt like our
Yeah.
language. I mean, you fucking did Latin for 6 years, so like you can like go around being like that's grammatically
Yeah.
incorrect. But like I'm just like I did Italian once. And that is I don't remember anything.
I remember my French teacher, we found out was like an erotic singer. Like, you know when you're in
What?
school and like your teachers are like teachers, like
Yeah.
they're like intense people, and then someone Googled her name
Yeah.
and there was this YouTube video of her like in like a skimpy outfit, like on the piano singing like sexily in French, and we were like, holy shit, like you have no authority now. And then she married the other French teacher. She like, and who I think, I might be making more of this than is, but like 14-year-old me remembers that like one of them, the dude was like had a girlfriend, and then she like stepped in, and then they ended up getting married. It was like a whole thing.
That's first of all, that's crazy. Like, second of all, like I think I'm fucking too old because like we did. I didn't think we. No one thought to fucking Google a teacher. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when I was like in high school, so.
I feel like I was just at that like sweet age where like I don't know what it was like to not have Google, but also people were still discovering it. So you'd Google weird shit rather than like post a photo of yourself on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Did you have Google at school?
I had Google at school.
Okay.
We were just like, what? Like, give me an education. Like, I need this question answered. It didn't even think that I could, like, if I put in someone's name, like, maybe some shit will come up about them. That didn't come up till, like, way later.
Yeah. Have you Googled yourself before?
I've Googled myself. Yeah.
Anything cool?
I mean, not really cool. Like, there's all my accounts on, like, shit.
Yeah.
Like,
I think I've Googled you, actually.
Have you?
To get your film.
To get my film?
Did you make like a cartoon or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I Googled you and I found that. Yeah, it must have, yeah.
Yeah. I Google myself from time to time because there was this article, like I think if you Googled like Michael Papa left through you and terrorism, this this fucking article would come up like about this time where we were filming and someone, so apparently like terrorists will film themselves like executing like prisoners.
Yeah, they
like,
do, yeah. And they put it on YouTube sometimes.
I didn't know that shit.
Yeah.
So it looked like that's what we were doing when we were shooting this short film. Apparently.
What?
To the fucking passerbys. First of all, it was a comedy film. Second of all, like, we fucking had, like, lights, sound, fucking camera. We had, like, bounce. Like, we had all this shit, like, and we looked like the biggest fucking nerds as well. And just because, like, the guy, like, there was this one guy that was on his knees.
Yeah.
And he had, like, a red vest. Like, they do in the fucking videos. So someone passing by, like, called the police. And then, like...
Holy
was, like,
shit.
article, like, yeah. So from time to time, I'll Google myself to see if the terrorism article still comes up.
I'm going to Google that now. I want to see. It was like when we filmed last year and the police turned up.
Yeah.
And that was just like... They were like kids hanging out, probably selling drugs, and we were like, no, we're legitimate.
Yeah, that time I called the police and was like, hey, we're filming, y'all.
Yeah, you did. You did everything right.
Because the other time, like, even though it was on fucking private property, like, apparently, well, obviously they're going to be mad because, like, a SWAT team fucking arrived.
Yeah.
Like...
Wait, were you in, like, Sydney?
Yeah, I was in Sydney.
Why would you be executing someone?
Exactly.
I feel like these executions are in, like, Syria.
Exactly.
Or, like, the Yemen.
Like, we're fucking doing it at a car wash, and there's, like, people washing their fucking cars behind us, but apparently we were, like, fucking... Everyone else that was, like, nearby was like, no, this is fine. But the people, like, going by in the car were like, I better fucking call the police.
Holy shit. Yeah. That's amazing. Actually, you know what? You should become a...
Terrorist?
I was going to say you should expand your film career because you made a good point. Like, when they film these executions... They need, like, people to film it.
Exactly, man.
So, obviously, there's, like, a whole, like...
Definitely.
...sector that you can go into for film, like, for join the... Yeah.
That's why I was confused, because if it's one guy with, like, a camcorder and, like, 10 guys with, like, swords, then I understand. But it was, like, 10 guys with, like, fucking...
Yeah, like,
filming
food,
And there was, like, one guy with, like, a... with, like, a fucking squeegee. Like, a Ouija? A squeegee? Like, I think that
I know what you mean, yeah.
Like,
you should, like, email ISIS and be like, do you want to improve your execution videos? I have film knowledge and this background. But you have to give up your citizenship. Or Australia, you don't give it up, actually. They just take it from you.
I'm just trying to fucking give the government back its money that it, like, invested in me.
True.
Fucking take away my citizenship.
Ridiculous. But yeah, it's like accountants. Apparently, if you're an accountant, terrorist organizations will pay you a lot. Because they have like all this finance, like a lot of money, like moves around the world, and they need like really good accountants to like facilitate that and know how to do it in ways like it won't be found.
Yeah.
So if you're an accountant, like you can get a legitimate job like working for a terrorist organization.
And is that okay? Or like
it's not okay. Like if the government found out, you would lose your citizenship, but like you get paid a lot and yeah. I studied this. I don't just like Google it.
No, we're definitely going to talk more about this stuff. Like, before we get into that,
Yeah.
I need to just like say that like I feel like if I was going to be a terrorist, like, you know, like if I was going to be like a bad guy in that way,
Yeah.
like I feel like the sweetness of it has like been taken out because it's like now we need an accountant.
Yeah.
Before we just like rape and pillage like indiscriminately. Like
Yeah.
why do we need an accountant now? It's like you've taken the sweetness out of like the whole thing.
Yeah, it's meant to be like rebellion and like anarchy,
Exactly.
and instead it's like it's the same thing. You're just a bit more murderous.
It's
Yeah.
like being a fucking regular person, but it's like I just kill people.
Yeah, it's a good point.
But like I still pay taxes. You know, we got the accountant. We got like healthcare.
Yeah. Fuck. I wonder if ISIS has healthcare. That's
I mean, see, what I would imagine if I was in ISIS would be like we would just kidnap a doctor. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
That's
the healthcare. Yeah.
But like now that you've given your little spiel about accountants,
I'm sorry.
I
Yeah, you
feel
were just
like-
picturing like accountants at like gunpoint being like, "I'll transfer the money." Yeah.
I mean that's yeah. Like if that wasn't a thing, then I wouldn't want to be like a pirate or like a terrorist or nothing.
Yeah. I think piracy is still kind of cool.
I heard
think-
that like piracy is like so like people like there was laws written about pirates like ages ago.
Yeah.
And, like they were just like if you're branded a pirate, it's because it's a good way to like be charged with piracy, but it doesn't mean that you were like literally a pirate. It just means that you're now like you're susceptible to the punishments that these old laws had.
Holy
for
shit.
pirates.
Yeah.
So it's like people would just be called pirates like when they're being charged, so that they don't have to be like what's it called like when you're given to another country for like punishment.
I can't think of the word.
Like extradition or something.
Extradited. Yeah.
Extradited. Yeah. So it's like it's the only reason that there's like official pirates is so that like people can navigate laws. To
That's
just,
insane.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn.
Or maybe there are just like official pirates and like.
I feel like there's definitely like piracy that happens, like organized piracy. But yeah, I guess it's technically like they're not like with swords and like weird hats like that sail the seas. I guess they're just like heists that happen
Yeah.
on the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that makes sense. That's crazy. Damn, law.
Yeah. That's. Yeah, I feel like I'm imagining wanting to be a pirate and like other people being like, no, we just do heists, and you know, I feel like there's no room for like people that don't need to be there in heists. Whereas if you have like a pirate crew, it's like, oh, this guy's cool. Like just
Yeah, it's sick. He
in a
can just like
heist-
play the
Exactly.
banjo, like yeah.
Yeah, there's no room for that in like heists. Like
That's true.
yeah, I would definitely differentiate the two, like, piracy and like stealing shit professionally.
Stealing shit. The heist does sound cool. I picture like Ocean's 11 type shit,
Yes.
but I feel like it's more just like really poor people robbing ships.
Yeah.
Maybe. Because it's I know it's common around like Indonesia and Vanuatu and because there's like that's like the drug.
Gotcha. So
Line.
Like abroad, the drug ships. Or
I don't know entirely. I don't know if it's like I just know that like a lot happens in that area on the sea because it's in between South America and Australia, and that's how we import. Well, obviously we don't import them, but like the drug people import the drugs. Yeah, some people import them. Yeah. So I don't know. Shit gets crazy, you know, in the Pacific Islands.
Damn.
Travel bubble. That's why we need our travel bubble.
What's a travel bubble?
The travel bubble. Like, So, like with the
Yeah.
coronavirus, you can travel, but only to like certain areas. So, like, I think Australia and New Zealand are going to say you can travel to each other,
Yeah.
and maybe include like Tonga or Samoa or the areas that haven't had it.
Yeah.
And it just means you can still like stimulate the economy,
Yeah.
but safely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think like there's gonna be like permanent travel restrictions? Like you know how like before 9/11, like you didn't have to take your shoes off and shit.
Yeah.
Like, do you think there's gonna be stuff like that just permanently happens now, like when you travel, because of like viruses spreading?
Yeah, I reckon. I was thinking about 9/11 too. But like I think it's like, you know how Australia has really strict biosecurity laws? I think it'll be like that, but everywhere. Like
So it changes for us.
yes, it will be like, oh whatever. But like there'll be a lot more like when I went to Israel on the way there, so it was before it like even really blew up. But I went via Singapore, and they just had like as you walked down the like hallway, they had someone scanning like temperature scanning the whole hallway. So if anyone had an odd temperature walking down that hallway, they'd pull you aside. So I think it'll be like more like that, where they'll just be a lot more wary until we get a vaccination, and then it'll probably just be like if you're sick on a plane, people are more aware of how it spreads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it like being in Israel when like the whole situation happened?
It was kind of cool actually. I like I think because it's not like a deadly virus, I wasn't scared. Like people were like, I don't want to travel, it's unsafe, and I was like, I mean, obviously it's deadly to some people, but it's like most likely not deadly to me. So I was like, I don't really mind. But like it was cool to see how they dealt with it.
Yeah.
Like Israel was so like, oh, well, we have like food stockpiled in case of war, so we can just use that if like we can't import stuff, so no one panic buy.
Yeah.
And everyone was just chill.
Oh, really?
Like, because they're used to, I remember when I arrived and they were like, missile, because I was in Jerusalem, which is quite far away.
Yeah.
I mean, not by like Australian standards, but like Israeli standards. It's far away from Gaza, which is where the missiles all come from. And they were saying that like if they do ever make it close to Jerusalem, everyone's normally pretty relaxed. Like they're just used to it. So they're like, I know I was talking to one Israeli girl, and she lived a bit closer, and she was like, she's seen people because they have like this missile detection, and they send like another missile to meet the missile in the air, and so people will be like, oh, a missile, let's watch in the air to see like us destroy. It's like symbolism of like Israel versus Palestine in the air. Yeah. So I feel like everyone's just like very like, a virus, like, all right,
Yeah.
what's new? Yeah.
Dude, I reckon like people in countries where there's other shit to worry about are probably
Yeah.
just like, dude, life goes on for them, I think.
Yeah. Whereas in here, I feel like it's like, holy, like this is, you realize like how much you rely on like certain
Yeah.
infrastructure, and how like even like traveling, like we take that so for granted. Like if I wanted to like go overseas by myself, I can't. I need like the government to okay it. I need a company to run the planes.
Yeah.
Like there's so much that goes into it that you don't even think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely. Like even with before coronavirus, there was a lot of people criticizing like the Chinese government,
Yeah.
and I remember, I don't know if it was the Chinese government or the companies in China being like, hey, if you're, for example, like there was people like a gaming tournament for like a game that's really popular in China,
Yeah.
and they were like, the professionals in America were like criticizing the Chinese government.
Damn.
And the Chinese government was like, hey, like you guys gotta stop this, or like your game's illegal in China. And like, China's like a really big like it's got a huge base of people that play that game.
Yeah.
So like the company in America was like cut all that talk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like there's also the other side, which is like the shit that China manufactures and
Yeah.
sends to you to like sell as like a middleman.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. I mean, they can just like cut that shit whenever they want. Or
Yeah.
if there's like if China just explodes, then a lot of shit is like not going to be getting imported out of there
Yeah.
as it is. So yeah, I think we're so reliant on like getting like shit just magically fucking appearing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't think. I mean, obviously it's cheaper because
Yeah.
like we can pay them illegal wages if they're in another country,
Yeah.
but not here. So it's like everything works out cheaper. But something could just happen, and like all of a sudden, like you don't like you can't have any products to sell. Like the product that you designed, and like it's like a fucking I don't know. Like I'm trying to like think of something like
There's like
actual
a
product.
Event Cinemas popcorn.
Event
The
Cinemas
Parlour Lane popcorn, the buttered one, not the flavored ones for some reason,
Yeah.
comes from China.
So
Yeah.
that's it. We wouldn't be able to get fucking buttered popcorn. We'd
Yeah.
have to get just fucking flavored one.
Yeah. But I know there's a theory, it's called like lock-in theory, and it's that the only way for a country to be developed
Yeah.
is for other countries to be undeveloped.
Yeah.
So like if we can all like look at China and be like, oh, their like human rights are awful, like they have such a large poverty gap, like, and just reprimand them and like hate on them.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, if they don't do that, then basically all of our development will go away. So everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that called?
Lock in.
Lock in.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think there's a lot of shit that we have that we don't need.
Yeah.
But we like because it's cheaper. We're more inclined to
Yeah.
like buy it.
Yeah.
But the only reason it's cheaper is because like we get it from places that
Yeah.
don't fucking pay people how we would pay people to make it. And
Yeah.
then if we ended up making it here, I would be like, well, I'm not gonna fucking buy that because why the fuck would I buy that for this price? Like I don't even want it. The only reason I was buying it is because it's so fucking cheap. Like, maybe that thing shouldn't exist like at all.
Yeah.
Like,
It's like clothing, like really cheap clothing.
yeah.
It's always so tempting to be like, oh, I'll just get like a $2 t-shirt, like just to spice up my wardrobe.
Yeah.
But then when you think about it, like we could all survive with like 2 pieces of clothing
Yeah.
and then just trade them if we get bored with it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I was actually thinking about shoes like recently. Like we always buy like I used to always buy Kmart shoes.
Yeah.
Like $5 or whatever.
Yeah. I bought Kmart shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking great, but then like they break in like I don't know how long.
Yeah.
And then it's like I'm gonna go buy more Kmart shoes.
So I saw like the craziest thing the other day, and it was like talking about the cycle of stuff we own and how it was looking at like the environment and the fact that we really want to create a lot less waste,
Yeah.
but capitalism relies on this waste because if people actually manufactured stuff to last a long time,
Yeah.
then we would all buy a lot less.
I think.
Yeah.
I think that's like. I think there are aspects of capitalism that are like we're not really letting. Like, we're not letting them do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Because I feel like somewhere in the cog, there's like a part of capitalism that wouldn't allow what you just explained to happen.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
There's like corruption or this other force that's like, oh, we're just gonna we're gonna like cross that problem out for you, and now the like cog works.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like capitalism, but it's supposed to be this thing where it's like whatever is not needed will, like that we are the market and we will like dictate what's needed and what's not.
Yeah.
But then if this other force comes in and makes something that's not needed more appealing, now you're not letting the whole point of capitalism, which is like the people deciding what's fucking useful and not, and therefore what gets money and what doesn't.
Yeah.
Like I heard that in the UK, like they sell meat at a price that's like not really making a profit for farmers, but it's okay because the government then comes in and subsidizes that and gives
Well,
them.
that's so nice. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also like, why don't you just fucking let the farmers like stop making so much, like producing so much meat,
Yeah, like, yeah.
and then sell the meat for more, and then people are gonna be like, well, I'm not gonna buy so much meat
Yeah.
now, like, because it's expensive, but I'll still buy some. It's like that probably will just solve itself out if you just let it solve itself out.
Yeah.
But another force comes in and like rigs it.
Because that's the government, like, that's like an example of like the government stepping in capitalism.
Yeah.
So like capitalism, it's meant to be like if you have a product,
Yeah.
it's up to you to sell that product, and if you're not making money from it, then you're gonna fail in capitalism, and that's your problem. But then like once the government starts helping you, it becomes like a weird socialist hybrid.
Exactly.
And then that's that's the
Exactly.
bit you need to cut out.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know, like, I feel like looking at like Western countries, it's like, oh, capitalism, but it's like also not really capitalism because
Yeah.
we're like interfering. And then if you look at like communist countries, there's like a dictator,
Yeah.
which is like the exact opposite of like equality.
Yeah.
So I just feel like no system really gets its
It's like the lesser of two evils is what you got to pick.
yeah.
And then
And also like no system. I don't really think I don't know that much about communism. But I feel like if we're not actually, I feel like we're calling things communism that isn't
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
communism, and then we're calling things capitalism.
that isn't
It's not
capitalism.
really capitalism.
So you need to like try out the pure form. Well, I think that's the issue is like communism, for example, on paper,
Yeah.
I think sounds amazing. It's like all the people own everything.
Yeah.
So there's no classes. So we would all like you and me would it's like shares, I guess, maybe, but we'd all own like Facebook. So if Facebook goes really well, we all share in that and we're all equally wealthy.
Yeah.
But then you always kind of like end up like in Russia it just ended up that like the people at the top were like, oh yeah, we'll be communists, but we're going to take and we're going to be super wealthy.
Yeah.
And you're going to be like dirt poor,
Yeah.
but all equal. But like, who wants to be poor and equal? Like,
Yeah.
and so that's like how they fucked up. Like they weren't fully communist because if it was fully communist, then there wouldn't be those people at the top.
Yeah.
And then capitalism is like that. They need to like make little islands and do like this is our communist, like pure communism, and this is pure capitalism. Let's see what works.
Yeah.
That'd be cool, but probably illegal.
Like for us to do it to ourselves, or for people to just
We could do it. I reckon it'd be like voluntary. It'd be like unethical. I feel like if you were like, I have an experiment,
yeah.
the like people who approve it would be like, no. Like,
Yeah. See, that's another thing where it's like, why would anyone approve that when like no one that's in power wants things to change. So like, why, it's not in their interest to approve anything that's like might be like a better solution to them being in power. Like, why?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I know the Greens have like these things that the last time I checked, like the fucking Greens, it's like if they were gonna get elected, there were all these things that they wanted to implement, which is basically like making it harder for like corruption to exist.
Yeah.
And like that sounds amazing, but also like I don't know, like they try to put that stuff through the fucking Senate, I think, and it's like why it's no one's interest that has.
Yeah,
power
no one's
over it.
gonna approve it. Yeah.
Yeah, just like yeah, how do you fucking implement like an anti-corruption thing when it's up to the people who have the most power and who like stand to gain the most by being corrupt to like how would they implement that?
Yeah, I feel like that's the issue. Is it's like even if the Greens were like, this is what we really want to do, and then once they get to power, if it was unpopular, they wouldn't do it because they need to maintain their power to do. They'd be like, oh well, if we're not in charge, then these anti-corruption laws aren't going to go through. But also, if the anti-corruption laws go through, then they'll stop being in charge. Then they can't do the like it's like a cycle where it's like they just won't do anything to maintain. I feel like it's like innate. Like corruption's innate. Like you get power and you're like, I must keep this power.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think Bill Burr said like we should pay Donald Trump like heaps more to be the president, so that like corruption is just like why would you risk like losing a job that pays you so much? Like, it was like that sort of incentive, which I was like, oh, that's really smart.
Yeah.
But also like, I don't know.
also, I feel like Donald Trump's loaded.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like he would stand to make just like infinitely more.
Yeah.
From like being corrupt.
Yeah. I like corruption pays. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
have you seen Crimes and Misdemeanors?
No.
It's Woody Allen movie, and it's really interesting. It's about like a guy that cheats on his wife with a woman, I don't want to like spoil the movie because you should definitely watch it. But it looks at like a few different men, and it looks at a filmmaker who is really ethical and like who's played by Woody Allen, and he makes like documentaries about like Holocaust survivors, and he wants to like change the world. And it looks at this other filmmaker who's like super unethical, like a total dickhead, but he's super rich.
Yeah.
And then the ethical one's super poor, and it like the movie's basically trying to say that like justice doesn't exist. Like you can be, we kind of, our society rewards dickheads, and it's up to you. Like you can choose not to be a dickhead then, but you have to like accept that you're not going to go as well.
Yeah.
It's like, it's super, I don't know, the message is like kind of a bit of a downer, but like it's really interesting to watch.
Yeah, I was gonna ask a question that like would spoil it, but I feel like you have to do things for yourself. Like even if it's like you have to be comfortable with being like that poor filmmaker and like
Yeah.
a dickhead. And if you don't want that for yourself, then like don't do that.
Yeah.
And suffer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you're gonna like take that shitty path, you at least have to be like happy with the fact that you sort of deciding what you want to do.
Yeah.
And if that's not enough for you, then maybe you shouldn't do it.
Yeah. I think that's what I like. My dad's a teacher, and I was always like, I'm happy that like that's an environment I grew up in, because I definitely saw with him, he loves teaching.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm probably biased, but I think he's like very good at it, and he knows a lot about like the technical aspects and stuff.
Yeah.
And obviously teachers aren't like millionaires,
Yeah.
but I can see that like he would not pick any other path.
Yeah.
Like if you were like, you could be a quadruple billionaire, but you can't teach, he'd say no.
Yeah.
And so like that's something I've seen where I'm like, you get something else, I think, out of like doing
Yeah.
what you enjoy. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that. Yeah, you've got to just do exactly what you want. Like.
Yeah. But then you got to find out exactly what you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Life.
Yeah, like it's great like having money now for me, like I'm like working full time, but I'm also like frustrated that like I don't have enough time to like do what I want to do.
Yeah. Time is money.
Yeah. The trick is just like getting paid for what you want to do.
Yeah, I feel like I remember when I was little, when I really wanted to be an actor, and my mum was always like, just do it as a hobby. And I was like, oh, I feel like there's a difference. Like, and the aim is just to get paid. Like, even right now, the area I'm in, like, I could just, like, if I think, all right, I want to work with refugees,
Yeah.
I could just, like, super easily just volunteer.
Yeah.
But, like, I want to get paid, and, you know,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I don't know, but I'm in, like, the opposite situation where I have too much time.
Oh, exactly. That's a fucked up thing. Like man, I would. Yeah. Fuck. I wish I could just like work half the amount I work and get paid half the amount I get paid. Like,
Yeah.
And then it would be perfect because like it's just enough. Like I wish working for money was like, you know how people always like, oh, have a backup, like in case
Yeah.
you don't get what you want. I wish that the fucking like the backup could be like 2 days a week. It could actually be like a backup in your week as opposed to like your whole life's decision. Like, it's just like if I worked like full time, like if I worked part time essentially, and then did whatever I want the rest of the week, I'd be like so much happier.
Yeah.
Like because I want to do what I want to do, but I don't even want to do it for the whole fucking week because like I know like I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm not going to be able to work on that stuff as much as I work at work. And like I want to keep busy, but I don't. Yeah, I want to keep busy, but the price of keeping busy is that like I have to work full time right now. Like, because I've already tried like the working from home on like what I want to work on, and like even if I was making some money, like I still wasn't able to like use my time effectively. Like, so I was still wasting a lot of time. Yeah. I don't know. It's just a learning experience.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way. Like, I feel like the more time you have, I think you actually said this. Do you remember when I interviewed you for university?
I was thinking about
Yeah.
that when I asked you to come for the fucking podcast.
That was great. I got really good marks for that, so thank you.
No, thank you.
But yeah, I remember you saying that like I was asking you about like what it was like to work and study, and you're like it's actually you found it more effective because you had to manage your time well, whereas like at the moment for me, I just have like days and days of nothing, and everything I do is self-regulated. So if I decide like okay, I want to learn Spanish, I have to say to myself like okay, I need to wake up. I could wake up at like 10 p.m. if I wanted to, like there's no laws,
Exactly.
but in a bad way. Yeah.
What if you like gave yourself like laws and like a schedule and like a routine?
I feel like I always get into that like mentality of like I don't want to be someone with a schedule. Like I want to be like a free flowing spirit, but at the same time, like I need to. Like I think I set myself like mini goal. Like I know like my standards of myself, and I know that if it gets to the end of the day and I haven't like done any Spanish or I haven't like exercised or something like that, I'll feel like shit.
Yeah.
So I kind of will say like, okay, well, like I've literally got 24 hours and everything that I have to do, like it takes up like 5 of those hours. So if I don't get them done, then that's just like pathetic.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I don't know, 5 hours is a lot. Like that's around the time where I would be like, I'm not going to be doing like some of this stuff, even if I'm like at home the whole day.
Yeah, I definitely like don't consistently do all of it, but
I'm like it's just like going. I just feel like the more I like work on myself, like the more I learn shit about
yeah,
like working for yourself and working by yourself. And now I know, like before I used to like have 5 hours of work, like I'd put myself like 5-ish hours of work and I'd never do it. And like the truth is I don't want to do 5 hours of work, like of actual work. Like now I work, like I'm at work for 8.5 hours a day.
yeah,
But I'm not really doing 5 hours of work.
yeah,
Even at work. Like I'm fucking, when you think about it, how much time you waste at work,
yeah,
you're wasting quite a bit. So
Yeah.
like, when you think about, but when you're working with yourself, for yourself, you're like, no, 5 hours of work equals 5 hours of work.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's like, I don't think it's actually like pretty fucking hard to work for 5 hours.
yeah,
Like, so like now that I'm doing my own work before I leave to go to work.
Yeah.
To go with my full-time job, and I've realized that I can actually go like full steam, like non-stop for like 2.5 hours, and that's fine.
yeah,
But then when I think about doing that for more than 2.5 hours, I'm like, I don't want to do that.
yeah,
Like, so I definitely, I think I was a bit harder on myself, like when I would set my own work,
yeah,
and like, I feel like you're being too hard on yourself as well. Like you're giving yourself too much. Like if you're giving yourself 5 hours and it wasn't arbitrary, like
Yeah.
5 hours is a lot to like, because you actually you're in your own head, so you hold yourself accountable. But like
Yeah.
when you have a job, if you're not working every second of your job, no one's like, hey, what the fuck? You just spent 1 second not doing work. Like,
yeah, that's true.
and you're just like, you're comfortable enough being like, that second had to pass because like a customer wasn't there at that moment, and it's my job to
Yeah.
save the register, and that's it. Like,
Yeah.
So
I bet you're less invested at your job. Like, you're working for someone else, so like you don't necessarily reap all the benefits.
yeah,
Whereas in, like, especially at the moment, like job searching,
yeah,
where I'm like, if I, like, to get a job, you need to apply for the jobs. And so I'm like, I'm doing it entirely for myself.
yeah,
So if I, like, only apply for, like, one less job in a day, then it affects me and me alone. Whereas if I, like, served one less customer at my job, I, like, could not care less.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. But also, how many, like, if you're at a job, like, if you're serving customers at your job, how many customers can you effectively serve in a time frame? Like,
Yeah.
there's a limit,
Yeah.
and there's like, because you're at home and you're like, I can do anything.
Yeah.
There's no limit to like
Yeah.
how many jobs you can apply for, and like maybe there isn't, but there's definitely how many jobs you can apply for and
Yeah.
actually do a good application.
Yeah, that's
Like,
true.
there's definitely a fucking limit.
Just yeah, I feel like, yeah, that makes sense. Because everything seems a lot more achievable. Like, if I was like, you know what? If I want to become fluent in Spanish, all I really need to do is, like, sit down for 2 hours a day and do it. Like, that sounds easy. But then to actually, like, sit down and work, like, in a productive way that I'm learning, and, like, it just doesn't, like, you don't feel as motivated, I guess. Yeah.
I don't know about you, but like when I'm doing stuff like that, I count the time that I'm organizing my time as not learning Spanish.
Yeah.
So if I'm like trying to figure out what I'm gonna do, like while I'm like Spanish, while I'm doing Spanish, I'm like, oh, how much Duolingo, how much like workbook,
Yeah.
like parts of Duolingo, like I'm not including that to like actually learning because like I'm holding myself that accountable. Whereas at work, it's like, you know, it's your job. I don't know, like you just...
Yeah,
you
if you're
feel,
like sitting
you know,
there like figuring out like what route should they take to this next place,
Yeah.
you're gonna like, yeah, that's what, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so I feel like also at work, like sometimes your shit is planned out for you.
Yeah.
So it's like you're just doing.
Yeah.
But also even if it's not planned out, you're like, I'm still working. Like in your head, it's like I'm
Yeah.
still working. But like when you're doing your own projects, if you're like planning the project, there's a part of you that's like, well, at least for me, it's like
It doesn't count.
it doesn't
Yeah,
count,
yeah.
but it fucking counts.
No, I
It
definitely do
does
that
count.
too, yeah. Damn, I never
So,
noticed that. That's
yeah.
why I feel like I couldn't own my own business. Like I would just not, I just always, like I wouldn't stop. But like I also like, I wouldn't be productive. Like I feel like it's like a productive way of like to keep on going, but I would just like constantly be like, oh, I didn't do enough when I am doing enough.
Yeah.
Like, because I feel like as well, like it's weird working, the way I picture it, if I did own my own business, is like you assume that the stuff you did at home wasn't as much work as you do at work.
Yeah.
Like being on site versus off site. I don't know.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
It's like it's very easy to feel like you're not being lazy or you're being productive or you're achieving something when you're outside getting like validation from other people that you're like
Yeah.
that are like buying into your business. But when you're at home and you're just dealing with yourself and you can't like see a monetary value to like your time, then
Yeah.
you're like, well, I'm making $0 an hour right now.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's like it's just another hurdle. Like if you really think about it, like it's like investing into something that's gonna blow up later.
Yeah.
Which again comes down to like what we were talking about before. Where it's like you gotta just be content doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
Like,
Because I guess that's the idea. If you enjoy doing it, you don't have to like make yourself do it. You just do it, ish. Sometimes.
yeah. Even that is like
But the stuff you enjoy doing about your job, like if you think
Yeah.
about your favorite part of film,
yeah.
like that bit, I'm sure you'd be like, I do it all the time. But if you think about like the shitty stuff, you'd be like, ugh, that's a track. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like the
Maybe.
more I stick with my like creative stuff, like the better I get at like recognizing all this stuff. Like all this stuff I'm trying to do. Like I sound very professional, but like as soon as you leave and I have to work with myself for like 4 hours,
Yeah.
I'm gonna like just assault myself like mentally and be like, Michael, you're not good enough. But
Yeah, I was like, wow, that's such a good point. Like I've never thought of it that way.
no, like I really think about all this shit, but like I don't apply it. Just because I'm thinking about it, I don't apply it. Like
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like having self-confidence, but like not having self-esteem. It's like...
Are they different?
I think they are. Like,
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, everything I'm telling you is like true, but it doesn't make me feel any better.
Yeah, okay. I feel like it's like easier said than done. Like it's so easy. It's like when people come to you, like I always find when I listen to people talking about like relationship issues, and I'm always like, obviously just do this.
Yeah.
But then like when you're in a relationship, you're like, this is the end of the world. Like I don't know.
Definitely.
Or like eating healthy and literally anything where you'll be like, oh, I just need to like not eat as much. Like done.
Even shit like that is like I've learned to like have a goal and then like have, if I'm like I want to eat healthy, it's like it's not enough to just think that. It's like I've got to think,
Yeah.
all right, I will eat like this many servings of fruit a day. Like that's
Yeah.
one like quantifiable.
Yeah, yeah.
That's one quantifiable step I can take.
Yeah.
But like if it's just so vague, like
Yeah, like I
it
want to
doesn't.
eat better. Yeah.
Yeah. Like yeah. And at the start when I was like working with myself and for myself, I would be like, this is what I'm gonna do, and like it just wouldn't happen. I'd be like, why is that? Like I even thought about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've got to like think of it in measurable ways.
Yeah. That's true. That's what my goals, the diary that we both have, recommends, where it says make quantifiable goals, which is good. It is a great diary. It's definitely helps me think of, like, even I was like, I need to wake up earlier, and then I was like, I need to set like a time for myself, like such little tasks like that,
Yeah.
where you're like, oh, this is so much more productive to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably all psychology. I feel like if I studied like productivity psychology or whatever it is one day, you'd like blow your own mind. You'd be like, holy shit, I do that all the time.
Yeah.
Like there's stuff where it's like if you, like say you want to start like practicing Duolingo every day, there's like a technique where all you do at first is like open up the app.
Yes. Yes.
And like that's insane to me that like doing that like just sets you into this rhythm where you're like, oh well, you eventually get to the point where you're like, I might as well just do a lesson.
Yeah.
Like, why are humans so weak? Like,
I think I don't know. I feel like it's more us as well. Like in the
like us or like us?
us. Like
Okay.
us, like in the like let's say for Australia for example, like it's like we have all this stuff that like we don't have to fight for, and then it's like, what am I gonna do with my time?
Yeah.
And it's like I'm gonna chill out. Like
Yeah.
it's like, but over in other places where it's like you have to like fight every day to like
Yeah.
make money or like
Yeah.
get food. I don't know. Like they're in that. I feel like we've lost that like, or it's harder for us to tap into that mentality. Like
I feel like we need to get like a mentality of like obviously if you come from like us, like if you come from a place of like luxury where you have the benefit of like just taking a moment out, or like you don't have to worry about like even healthcare. Like I've never worried about that in my life, but in America it sounds horrific.
yeah.
Like we should like use that luxury to help other people as well. Like I think that's kind of like when I look at like billionaires, for example, I cannot fathom why they would not give their billions away.
I would not be a billionaire for very long. Like because I'm giving away, but I know exactly what I want to buy.
What would you buy?
Fucking I don't know. I was lying. Okay, all right. Like a hotel for like all my friends that like just have like a permanent room. Like that's one thing.
But that's giving away. That's what I mean. Like
okay.
yeah, like you'd help. Like I wouldn't be like I have 100. Like I'm pretty sure there's people that have like $400 billion.
Yeah.
That's so much money. I wouldn't be like, I'm gonna buy a boat. And even then, you've still got like $399 billion. Like, what are you gonna do? You might as well buy a fucking hotel for your friends. Like, you can't physically spend that much money on yourself.
Yeah.
So like, you should be. Like, I don't understand why it's not like more of a thing where like you get to this point. Obviously, with billionaires, it's money. Like, I don't think most people are like at the stage where they're like, oh, I don't need anything more. I'll just give my money away.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, I feel like it's time. Like, I think I've been thinking about this because I have so much time.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I should volunteer with that time. Like, that's the best thing I can do with it at the moment, rather than like waste the time on myself for that, because I have the luxury of having time, which like you were saying, not everyone has. Like, obviously I've been able to like take a moment, like live rent free, like, but if I was in a different circumstance, I'd have to get a job like immediately. Like so yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know like I think I definitely like went through like a phase in my life where I was like trying to like just fuck myself as much as possible. Essentially, like I would just give myself problems.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't let myself like be in a place where I had too much to fall back on at a
Yeah.
certain point. And like I realized, like I only realized at the start of this year when like I made a fuck ton of money in like a little time, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna spend all this money on the course.
Yeah.
Just so I don't have any fucking money left. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
like, I
yeah.
really needed money at that point. Like I'd really gone for so long without like enough money to just be like, oh, I'm not worried today.
Yeah.
But even that day that I got like paid, I was like, oh, this course is like the exact same money that I got paid. Why don't I just get rid of it? I was like, I got to a point where I was like,
Wait, did you do the course?
No, I didn't do the
Okay,
course.
good.
Because I was like, fuck that. Like I didn't even need that course. I was just like, like whatever the course was gonna get me, I can get by myself already. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just doing that course as like a formality.
Yeah.
Formality. So.
I full went through that. I paid $70 to apply for a master's degree.
Yeah.
And then I like got to the point where I was like, do you know how much a master's degree costs, by the way?
Yeah, I looked at my ex the other day.
Do you have a master's degree?
Yeah.
How much was it?
Is the exact same amount as my bachelor's, though it was in
Half the time. Yeah. So the master's degree, I was like, this looks fucking hectic. Heck yeah. $45,000 for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a second. Like, because it's hex as well, so you don't think about it. And I was like, thought about like just what they could get for that $45,000 in 10 years time. And I was like, nah. Like, I need to stop myself here.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think that's like another thing where it's like because we have the chance to borrow the money.
Yeah.
It's like it's a very viable option. But
Yeah.
if we didn't have to fucking borrow, if we couldn't borrow the money and we had to work towards that, it would become part of our plan. We'd figure out our lives and then integrate study into it. But because we can just have it handed to us, like it's a lot more expensive than it needs to be.
Yeah.
Because if there was not so many people buying it, it would be cheaper.
Yeah.
So they could like get more people to buy it.
That's true. Damn. We need to stage like a study strike. But it's like how they raise the amount.
Yeah.
And then I saw they were like the news was like, it's not even working. Like no one, like they interviewed all these like 18-year-olds and they're like, no, I'm still going to do my course. But I feel like if anything that proves that it is working in a way, because it's making money, because these kids are like, well, like I want to do a Bachelor of History. Like I'm not going to change my mind because of money.
Yeah.
Whereas, because it's hex.
Yeah.
So, like, in their heads, they're not actually thinking about the monetary value of their course, but the government sees the profit that they'll make when they start paying back the hex.
Yeah.
Whereas in the kids don't see the debt that they'll have,
Yeah.
which is just insane.
Dude, I'm 29 and I literally I realized the scope. Even though I know what I'm like, I'd been aware that I have like a debt. I only realized it the other week where I like I checked an old screenshot of it from like the start of it.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know how to check it.
It's through your MyGov.
Okay.
But like I had a screen after I finished my master's degree, I took a screenshot and I saw how much it had gone up. And I was like, oh shit, it's actually going up.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I was like, like even after the fucking master's degree, it didn't really hit me. But like now it's like sort of hit me because I'm like, I think I'm measuring it next to like this job that I have now. Like if I work this job, like how long will it take me to pay that off?
Yeah.
And then how long, like after that I'll be free, and how much time do I need of being free from like a debt to like buy shit that I want? And I was like, that hurts my brain.
Fuck.
So.
I think I just don't think about it. I think in my head I'm like, if I don't do another degree, it'll be at that amount that I can kind of ignore. Like it'll just be like a bit of a higher tax.
Yeah.
So I can just be like, oh, it's not happening. Whereas I think if I did that, I'd be like, that's it. Or in America, I didn't realize, like, obviously everyone talks about like how American college is so expensive. And then I was talking to this American girl and she's like, yeah, my sister's college debt is in like the hundreds of thousands. And I was like, how do you even begin to pay that off.
I know
Like,
it's like worse in America. Like you actually have to pay it off. Like
yeah, it's like a
ASAP.
loan. Like, it's, yeah. Whereas I think one of my mom's friends, like, she had a son, so she went to uni, and then a year after she had a son with cerebral palsy, so she stopped like working and just looks after him full time. So she's never had to pay back her hex.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know if she'll like what happens when she dies. But
Oh, I think it does disappear with you in Australia.
oh really?
Yeah,
Nice.
but
Okay.
I'm pretty sure in America it doesn't disappear with you. And I know that even if you declare bankruptcy, it doesn't disappear.
Shit, really?
Yeah.
I would literally just like if I had kids in America, I'd just be like, I'm really sorry, but you have to pay off my debt.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not sending you to college. Yeah.
I'm like already thinking like if I have a kid, I have to like figure out a way for them to like understand like money, like ASAP.
Yeah.
Like even if it's like, oh, if you sweep the floor,
Yeah.
you would get like $10. Like just something, just so they understand that work equals money.
Yeah.
And, like because like when I like signed up for my bachelor's, I didn't understand. Like I had like one or two jobs.
Yeah.
And like I really didn't understand. Like it just
Yeah.
didn't fucking compute.
I know my mum, because she's an accountant, she like set us up bank accounts in like year one. And she was like, you need to save. And she always like just ingrained saving in us. And we didn't really do pocket money. We just somehow ended up with money. I guess like Christmas gifts maybe if
Yeah.
someone gave like a 6-year-old $20. And we'd like save it. And I know that was really helpful because it means that like I know both me and my sister and hopefully my younger brother all like look like when we get a paycheck, we are really good at being like, oh, well, I need to save like as much of that as possible and not spend it on like a course.
Yeah.
But but at the same time, there's kids that like take the bins out and I still remember I didn't get pocket money, and Oscar, I can't remember his last name, in primary school would take the bins out once a week and get $20 for it.
Yeah.
And I was always like, that's fucked up. Like that's not
So
worth that much
that's
money.
his own like bins, right?
Yeah.
Like see, like I've got to like I want to like be like a brain ninja and like implant that I do that. You can do that with me, like to my kid, but like you're only gonna make so much from me, and then eventually they're gonna like try like fucking do that in the world.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. I know my mum, whenever we had the Easter show coming up, my mum would make like a list of all the chores in the house and set like a price for each of them. So the harder it was, the more money you got. And my sister, because she was the oldest and like understood money a bit better, she figured out that the most expensive ones were like washing the car.
Yeah.
And it was more worth her while to just do those, like a few of them, than to do like 50 of the cheaper ones.
Yeah.
And so she always like had the most money just from washing the car. Whereas I would like vacuum the house, dust the house, like, and I'd get like $5. Yeah.
But you learned that lesson now.
Yeah, I learned that lesson now. Yeah.
So either way, you guys learned the lesson.
Yeah.
That was really more valuable than the money.
That's true. That is true. Damn. I don't know. I thought you can just fuck your kids up and so I want to just like I was watching I don't know what the show was called. It was just on TV and they like interview like famous people and they like take them through their life.
Yeah.
And it was this bloke who is Australian and he owns some like massive software development company, so he's like a billionaire. And he was talking about when he was a kid, he really wanted a computer. And his like parents like couldn't afford it, and he was like, man, I felt like such a brat because I had like didn't understand that. I'd asked him for a computer and asked him for a computer, and eventually my dad managed to buy one off his work that was like kind of broken for super cheap. And then he wanted the computer to play a game with his friends, and the computer wouldn't play that game, so he was like this 6-year-old kid like spending all the time like reading the manuals trying to get the computer to work and like reconfiguring it.
Yeah.
And he was like, literally, that experience has led me to where I am today.
Exactly.
So I was like, damn, I'm going to buy my kids a broken computer. Like,
There's something like I feel like there's something that kids have that's like they're willing to do a lot more for it. And
yeah.
I'm not even I can't remember like what it was for me, but I really don't think my parents would have let me. It's like that kid's parents like could have been like, you're not allowed to like have a fucking computer. Like
Yeah,
that's the rule. It's like there's a lot of parents that like make rules to make their lives easier.
Yeah.
Not to like fucking teach their kids.
Yeah.
And that's like I'm so fucking conscious of that.
Yeah.
Like, and like I don't want to fucking do that to my kids.
Well, even like technology, like I feel like it's really common these days to like give your kids an iPad, and like obviously I don't have kids. And I feel like there'd be heaps of parents out here that like you do not understand like the time it takes. But I feel like if you do that too much, it's more of a break for you. Like you're doing it for yourself than them, because you can just be like, okay, instead of me minding you, the iPad's gonna mind you.
Yeah.
So you need to like monitor. Like there's so much shit where it's like you're gonna be at this like exhausted point, as far as I understand, where you're like, I don't want to deal with you, child.
Yeah.
And you need to like work through that and be like, if I just keep on giving them an iPad, they're gonna learn to become like those annoying kids that like don't look up from their phones. Yeah. Damn.
I was taking my lunch break the other day, and this mum and like her kid walked past, and I don't know what, but the kid saw something on the floor, and
Yeah.
she went to just touch it, and the mum like had an outburst. She was like, "Oh my god, you always touch random shit! Like, oh my god!" Like, and I was like, "What is the point of like?"
Yeah.
What are you trying to achieve here?
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to wash up your kids' hands?
Yeah.
Is that why you're getting angry at them and like teaching them to not be curious about
Yeah.
shit? Like, are they touching something poisonous?
Yeah.
Like, is it really that dirty?
Yeah.
Because I looked out the window, like, I looked after they left, I was like, what is it that the kid tried to touch? And there was nothing that was like, it wasn't like any dog shit or anything.
Yeah.
It was like, there was nothing that could have been that bad.
Yeah.
And I was like, that parent literally is just tired of fucking... Like,
kids
she just wants to
touching
make,
shit.
Yeah, she just wants to make her life easier.
Yeah.
In a way that like discourage. So like I don't know. Like I'm thinking of that guy with a computer.
Yeah.
The kid with a computer, and like his parents could have been like you don't get any computer because like that's just gonna be extra shit for us later.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's cool that they got him the computer. But even if they were like, you can buy your own computer.
Yeah.
Because like I know even for me, it was like there was sometimes where like I had money and like I wasn't allowed to like buy shit still.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. I feel like if you're gonna like if you give your kids like the chance to make money and then buy what they want, even if you can't give it to them, that's like really valuable still. Like,
Well, because you value like what you're gonna spend your money on more, I think. Like I know my mom, like when we got older, would always like try and like let us know that like if I want this stupid toy that I'm never gonna play with again, she has to work an hour for it. So she like translate it to time, and that made it more like understandable for us. So she'd be like, if I have to work an hour, you have to work an hour.
yeah.
So if we weren't willing to like clean the house for an hour for something, then she'd be like, we obviously don't want it enough.
Yeah.
Whereas like, you know, when you're a kid and you're like, I want that, I want that, I want that. And you think that like, I used to think like ATMs just like gave you money. And I was like, just get more money out of that machine. Like,
Yeah. I think the thing that's amazing about that kid is that he was able to take the initiative himself to like
Yeah.
fucking fix a computer.
Yeah.
Whereas like I'm thinking back to my childhood and I'm being like, there is no version of me that like would think that they're allowed to just do shit like that.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's the cool thing that I think he fucking learned is like not how to even fix a computer, but to fucking understand that they're allowed to like pretty much to do shit like that themselves.
Yeah.
Like it's not up to other people. Like if the other people can't do it, like you
Yeah.
can do it even though you're 6 years old. Like,
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, like not see it, be like, oh, I feel like I would have just been like, it's broken.
Exactly. That's
Like-
exactly me too. Like,
Yeah.
There's no version of me that was like, how about I think of something
Yeah,
at 6 years old, not at 6 years old.
yeah. But I guess that's why he's a billionaire now.
Exactly.
But yeah, I feel like that's just streamline your kids. I'm gonna be one of those annoying moms that's like, you're doing netball and you're doing it and you're gonna be a pro and you don't have a choice. Like, just like really. I remember my dad the other day was like, so because I like played netball, like you know, you just like play sport as a kid. I played netball. My sister was always like very good at it, and then she just stopped. I didn't really pay attention because I was a child, and I used to do it just as well. And then my dad the other day was like, yeah, we like had an opportunity to like move you up. Like your coach said, like, I think you should try and get her into like the rep netball, which is like where you like start working your way up. And we like saw that you didn't enjoy it enough, so we said no. And like that's why you stopped playing netball. And I was like, I had no idea that like whole entire thing ever happened.
Yeah.
Like in my head, I just like stopped playing netball one day, and I was like, yeah, I don't really care.
Yeah.
But they like had that decision, and they were like, well, she doesn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
I was like, nah, I would have just been like, do it, kid.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. But and it's goes back again to like doing what you love, and
You're in a really cool position when you're a kid. It's like you can do
Yeah.
a lot of stuff, and it doesn't matter how much you fail.
you don't even know it. Like, I think back and like I took myself so seriously as a kid. Like I was like, I need to like come across as like professional, as like a 9-year-old. Like I should have just been like relying on the fact that everyone thinks you're cute, and they're like, oh, it's a kid.
I feel like you do that a lot now.
Yeah.
You're like, I always feel like there's like another side of you that's like, I'm like, this persona is like, I'm like, this persona is like my shell that I used to like to see people sometimes. Just, you know, like sometimes, you know, like, oh my God, Michael, that's so cool. I'm like, I was just saying that to make me happy.
No, I don't. I do it just, I'm definitely like, I'm just your fan. Like,
Yeah.
that's just me fangirling over
doing it now,
you.
though?
I'm not doing it now. Like, that's just me getting excited, being like, wow, Michael's super cool.
But you do that to other people, I swear, because I've seen it.
But I do it to other people, but I think I'm normally genuine. There's definitely probably some people where I'm like,
Yeah.
I need to do this like for your sake.
Yes, exactly. That's what it
But-
is. It's more that.
Yeah, but like with you, I like, I'm definitely interested. Yeah.
If you really...
I am, I swear. I'll let you know if you like ever do something. If I ever
just
do
tell
it
me,
to you, I'll be
please.
like, by the way, I'm not interested in that.
Please.
Yeah.
Please.
I probably won't though, but like.
I know.
No. I think my favorite, I realized recently that I like, I don't want to say manipulate, but like, I feel like everyone does it. I feel like especially women do this.
Yeah.
With men, it can be quite easy to do in terms of like strength. Like at work, if there was like a box I didn't want to carry,
Oh.
I'd be like, oh, I can't. Rather than be like, I don't want to carry it, you're like, I can't carry it. And the bloke's like, I can carry it.
That's the one thing that I fucking pick up on like straight away. Like as soon as like I can see when like a girl wants me to like lift something heavy.
Yeah.
Like that's the most fucked up thing. It's like it's so cliche.
Yeah.
Like I almost feel like sexist for saying it.
Yeah.
But like if it didn't happen to me so many fucking times where I was like, are you trying to like very politely like inception the idea of me moving this thing somewhere else? Like
Yeah.
is that what you're doing? Like you can just say it. You can just
But
say
the fact that you can pick up on it, like there's very few guys that pick up on it. Like very, very minimal guys. And I'm not surprised that you're one of them that can.
Who the fuck? Are we being too loud? Who could this be? Dude, it's my mom. I'm gonna go.
Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah. Mel, just tell us about. Tell us about international relations.
Okay. Oh, you have that written down?
Fuck.
Do you just want me to keep talking?
Yeah.
Or just
tell me
wait?
anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I can
Is
do
that
this.
okay?
Yeah.
You
Okay.
can do it.
I'm doing a
Sorry.
takeover.
You can
All right.
just like skip. That's fine.
All right.
If they don't want, but I think they will want. I would want. I'm sad that I can't be here.
Fuck yeah. All right. Go to your mom. All right. This is my takeover of Michael's podcast. All right. I'll talk about international relations then. I feel like it's like an interesting thing that I studied because it's something that like everyone has an opinion on, and then you've studied it, and then you've got this like weird like hybrid where it's like super relevant to everything, and you get like this mash of like all those like official people and what they said and like what you learned about, and then like different opinions from all these people, which is also frustrating sometimes because you gotta like figure out, you very much look at like the relativity of truth, where like you get taught something at school and you think that it's like that's the thing, but then someone else has an opinion, you realize that that's just as relevant as this like theory that's been believed for hundreds of years. I recently had to do a report on Vanuatu for a job, and that was super cool. And kind of depressing. It was a lot about climate change. I feel like it's very depressing overall. Man, I want to be more interesting in my takeover. Aliens. I could talk about aliens. I don't know much about aliens.
Just keep going.
I'm just kind of thinking about takeover stuff I could do. Oh no. I was trying to think of like my most interesting story. And I couldn't think of one. I was like, I feel like I have a really interesting thing to say and I couldn't remember it. So I was like, nah, that's okay.
What about that time, like, the car crash happened?
Which car crash? Wait, the one that you were there?
Yeah. I wasn't really there, but the story you told about it was fucking awesome.
What was this? Wait, I thought you should tell me about my car crash.
The fucking, we're like, for some reason, oh god, I don't want to like ruin it with the punchline, but I don't know if you want it told. But like the best way to do it is with the punchline.
You tell it with the punchline, yeah.
I'll say the setup and then the punchline.
Okay.
I feel like the whole fucking story leading up to the punchline is so good, but I don't
Okay.
know if you want to tell it. So like someone snuck a condom into your fucking
Oh
pocket.
my god, yeah. No, you keep going.
Someone stuck a condom into your pocket and then like the fucking car crash happened.
Yeah.
Like later that night. And then like the cop was like fucking like interviewing you after. And you were like, wait a second, I have my ID or something. I don't know why you reach into your pocket. But then you just fucking pull out a condom, like, what the fuck is this? And the cop's like, this girl's like retarded. Like, that's why the
Yes,
car
oh my
crashed.
god. I forgot that happened. Like, I forgot. I still have that condom. I still have it. I've, like, kept it. It's probably not usable, but I've kept it because I remember being, like, the only aspect I remember about that is that I was like, this condom, maybe it saves me.
Yeah.
Because, like, it was But, no, now I, like, vividly remember, like, having to pulling out, like, not, because I didn't know it was in my pocket, yeah, because, like, she was sitting next to me, and then, like, pulling it out and being like, how the fuck did that get in there? Like, I just had genuinely no idea, but also I couldn't investigate it because, and I was like, oh, and then I figured it out. Damn, that was crazy. That was a crazy night. And then the next day I, like, came to work and, like, obviously no one just, like, knows that, like, I had a car crash, but they're like, oh, dude, like, I heard about, like, last night. Like, that's so funny. I was like, how'd you hear? Yeah. Like, that's crazy. Like, what? And they were like, the condom, right? I was like, no.
Oh,
But yeah.
fucking condom.
Yeah. And just drinks in general, you know? Yeah. Damn. That's a way cooler story. I should have told that. I should have told my condom story. God damn it. I feel that's the issue is like you have interesting stories and then it's like, I need to tell one though.
Yeah.
And instantly I'm like, my life is nothing.
I was literally thinking about this in the car today, while I was driving at work. I was like, because I had thought of like a really interesting story that I had like a few weeks before, and I was like, oh my god, what's that story? Because I keep listening to podcasts where the host or the guests have like really interesting fucking stories.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I've got one that is like on par with like all of theirs, but it's like, but I forgot it.
Fuck, Michael. Do you have, like, what's the most interesting thing that's happened to you?
I don't know.
I'm sorry. So even now, I'm like, surely I can think of one interesting story I have. I have a few, like, crazy, like, high school stories, but I feel like everyone has those, like, weird things where you look back and you're like, that was a weird time. But, like, I definitely, like, went through this stage where, you know how there's, like, that joke where it's, like, the old you would do it? Yeah. Like, that was me 100% in that I was, like, a yes man. I watched, you know the movie Yes Man? I watched it and I was like, that's going to be me. Like, I'm never going to turn down an opportunity. Oh, yeah. And then, like, I got to this point of, like, maturity, I would say, where I was like, I need to not like sometimes I just don't want to do something and I need to say no.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah. So that goes out to every guy I've ever had sex with. Like,
Oh. And you still got the condom.
yeah.
So were you talking about aliens when I got here?
No, I started talking about. I was like, okay, I was like, I have to make this interesting, and I was like, I don't know how to make it interesting, so I started talking about international relations, and then I like didn't know how to streamline my own conversation without your like probing.
Oh, yeah.
So then I was like, I'm just talking shit, and then I went to talk about Vanuatu. But I was like, that's not interesting. And then I was like, what's interesting? I was like, aliens are very interesting.
Yeah.
And I used to know a lot about aliens, but I can't recall any of that information.
Really?
But I once had a conversation with a truck driver
Yeah.
driving from Alice Springs to this like remote indigenous community.
Yeah.
And he was telling me about this like army base around the area and how like why he thought there were aliens there.
Oh.
Yeah. But I don't remember what he said, so that kind of like bums that story out. Yeah.
I mean, maybe it wasn't like that. Like, what's the word I'm looking for? Believable, if you didn't really remember it. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, it
yeah,
wasn't that
yeah.
great if you forgot.
Yeah. I feel like I'm just not like, I feel like I'm more interested in like ghosts and like juju
Juju.
than aliens.
I mean, yeah. I do have
Yeah,
a
like
Ouija board.
that's an interesting story. That's a cool story.
Is it?
Yeah.
What is it?
Your story, your ghost
Oh,
story.
my
How?
ghost story,
Yeah.
I feel like it's better with you because you saw the Ouija board when you came in, and I was like,
Yeah.
let me tell you a story about the Ouija board.
Yes.
That's like, it becomes complete when you inquire about the Ouija board.
Yeah, it's not
That
just
you
like
see
I
the
have
Ouija
a.
board.
Although I do have a good Ouija board story. Basically, the first time I ever Ouija boarded
Yeah.
was in year 10. So you're like 16. And I went to an all-girls school and we all did this trip. It was like all the girls like couldn't afford to go to like Thailand and Fiji.
Of course.
Yeah. So we all did this trip to Canberra
Oh, yeah.
and we stayed in these like little weird like apartment townhouse things. Like I don't know why they thought that would be a good idea, and there was like 6 of us in each one. And for some reason we were all like, it's Canberra, there's no laws here, it's the ACT. But it was also like that's where the laws get made. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. And I made vodka gummy bears, which was very exciting.
The fuck, dude.
And we Ouija boarded, and everyone, it was like me and my friend, and she was like very also into this stuff, and we were like, fuck it, let's Ouija board here. And so we like turned off the lights, like got really into it, and then we like made these other 2 girls join to make it more interesting, and they were like shit scared, and everyone else that was staying in our apartment got really mad at us because they were like, you're gonna fucking haunt this place and we're gonna have to deal with it. And we were like, no, like it's totally fine. And we did it, and we asked him to spell his name, and he spelled out Malat, like Ivan Malat, and we were
fuck.
near the like forest, so we were like, holy shit, so we freaked out. And this is when the Ouija like board story becomes more than the Ouija board story, because after that we like freaked out. Everyone was in like this edgy mood.
Yeah.
And then the girl I did it with was like, I really want to get my hair cut. And one of the other girls was like, all right, I'll do it for you. And I just remember, like, this is like the bitchiest cat fight I've ever seen, because this girl's like cutting her hair and she like does a snip and we're all watching, and then she like does this other snip and it's like completely at a different level.
Yeah.
And then she does another snip, and that one, like all 3 have now been at a completely different level.
Yeah.
And the girl getting her haircut like sees it and just bursts into tears and starts like yelling at her and like chases her out of the apartment. And then another girl just like appeared from one of the another apartments.
Yeah.
I was like, what's going on? And then I just remember that they all were like in the room that we previously Ouija boarded in, like yelling at each other and crying.
Fuck.
And we just like hid upstairs and we're like, I don't know what the fuck's going on downstairs, but like I think it's about more than the haircut.
Yeah.
But like it was just like the weirdest night, because it was like the tension from the Ouija board and then just like cat fighting. And then the girl ends up having to like shave her head to like fix her haircut.
What
Yeah.
the fuck?
Yeah.
That's like the most gangster 16-year-old story that I've like ever fucking heard. Like from someone that I know.
Thank you.
Like, yeah.
it was just like that moment where I was like, it was like the one cat fight I've experienced where I was like, I feel like I'm on Big Brother. Or like one of those reality TV shows, yeah.
Damn, you guys were cutting each other's hair. You had vodka bear gummies. Vodka gummies.
Yeah.
And you were all fucking straight. And then like the room was like fucking...
Yeah, I was like, it's just the
everyone was
energy.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fuck. I'm trying to like think. When we were 16 at camp, we got like a street, we got like a fishing line, and this isn't even me actually, this is just people that I know. I didn't even fucking do this, so it's not my story. But I'm thinking of the crazy shit that I did at 16.
Yeah.
They like put the fishing wire like all across the room, and then someone lied on it at the end, like they were lying on
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
That's super cool. That's like cool. Like that's like being like, it's like productive mayhem. Like I feel like I did none of that. I used to like at my other camp, I remember we like bought like sherbet straws and we're like snorting them because
Oh my God.
like that's what you do. And then one of the teachers saw, like she walked past our cabin and saw, and she was like, "That's the drug cap." She didn't like do anything about it. I just remember like having to talk to her afterwards, and she was like, "What are you doing in there?" And I was like, I don't know, playing with sherbet, like what the fuck. And then later she was like talking to one of the other girls and she was like, "Don't go there, it's the drug cabin, you don't want to get involved with that." And that was it, that was the end of that. Like, yeah.
As a kid, you're like, okay.
Yeah, you're like,
But then
alright.
as an adult, you're like,
Yeah, I'm
I don't
like,
know, man. Like, something's off. I remember, like, at that same camp, like, everyone had their bag searched for alcohol. And then
damn.
when it was my turn to fucking go up to get my bag searched, they were like, "It's alright, Michael." Oh, fuck.
Well, that's a good thing, you know.
Oh, man, but I keep listening to, like, the fucking best podcast on the planet, which is just, like, a guy going through all, like, the bullshit in his life. And it's like, I don't come anywhere close to even, like, one fucking story.
I feel like that's a good...
Fuck.
That's going to shape how I think of you as a kid, like, for the rest. I think it's a good... Because I think I, like, peaked in my mayhem as a teenager, whereas I feel like you're doing the opposite.
That's true, I am.
Yeah.
I am definitely... I mean, I feel like you're pretty fucking cool. But I feel like I see you and I'm like my coolness equal. And you're just, like, so much younger than me, and you're all fucking hip and shit, and, like... Do you know what I mean?
Nice.
And, like, took me ages to... Yeah. Remember when we were at fucking Macca's and I was like, oh, it's... Like, I want to get a house, like a share house, and, like...
Yeah.
If people live there, and you're like, gangster, I'll see you there. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah. And that was after my yes man phase as well. Like, that was just me being like, fuck yeah. Yeah. No, I feel like you're on, like, a wiser cool level, though. Like, I'm still on the, like, kind of figure it out. Like, probably don't take advice from me. Whereas you're more, like, there.
Maybe because I'm just so contemplative of this shit.
Yeah.
Like, I think about it a lot. Yeah, and maybe you're just, like, more in the moment, sort of, like, living.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I feel like that's the age thing. Like, you get to the point, like, when you're, like, younger, you're more like, fuck it. And then you get older and you're like, let me think through. Like, I don't have enough experiences to think through. I can just be like, that was a weird time that I snorted sherbet for fun. Like, why'd I do that? Like, but yeah. Life.
Hey, so why are all the missiles in Gaza?
Oh, okay. Because that's where, so basically, Gaza is like, do you have like a map of Israel and Palestine in your head? So basically, it's like, it's right near Cyprus.
Oh,
Yeah.
I got it.
It's like a little like long, thin country.
Yeah.
It's only an hour wide. And then in the middle is Israel, like, and lengthwise. And then on either side is Palestine. So there's the West Bank on one side and Gaza, which is a lot smaller on the other side. And Gaza like has, so basically there was this like, it's all like semi-political. There was like an organization called Hamas.
Hummus, like.
So like HAMAS.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And they are like technically classified as a terrorist organization, but like also that could, like, it's up to different people would say whether or not they're a terrorist. And then they are like based a lot more extreme, and they came to power in Gaza, and Israel was like, we're not dealing with you. And even the Palestinian Authority, who were like the government, like with air bunnies, in Palestine, are kind of wary of Hamas. And so there was like a big war there, and basically ended with Gaza being like completely blockaded. So you can't, like, it's so difficult to visit there. It's difficult to get out of there. It's like, it's shit. And also most Palestinians like in the West Bank and in Gaza are refugees because they lived in Israel originally, and then during like the war between Israel and Palestine, they ended up like in the area, so they're now Palestine. So like it's shit. And then their leadership, like it's like still very militant. And like still against Israel, so they like send missiles out and they send missiles back, and whereas in the West Bank is a lot more occupied by Israel, like, so Israel obviously like still controls Gaza, like if you can't leave without Israel's permission, like shit like that, but the West Bank is more integrated. So that's the settlements. I don't know if you've heard about that. Like basically it's like this area is Palestine, but then Israel will just like build houses in Palestine and then get Israelis to move there and be like, oh, well, it's now kind of Israel. So it's like there's not as much like actual like war going on there because it's so much more, it's more like on the ground shit, like soldiers shooting people, like, yeah. If that explains.
And they make missiles there. That sounds...
How do they make missiles?
Do they make missiles there? Is that... Or they just come from there?
No, like they shoot the missiles.
They shoot the missiles from there. Where do they get the missiles from?
I think they'd smuggle them in.
Nice.
There were smuggling tunnels between, because Egypt, there's like a border that Gaza has with Egypt, and Egypt also has a blockade. But they used to have like smuggling tunnels there. But I mean, Egypt flooded them, but they like, I'm guessing that like, I don't know, they get them in somehow. Like, or maybe they build them. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
What other fucked up shit is happening around the world? What has like happened around the world?
I mean, China has concentration camps with I think it's like Ouija's. I feel like I'm definitely not pronouncing that correctly.
People that look different.
It's Muslim people, the Muslim population in China. North Korea has, I mean, I don't even know like how to unpack North Korea, but like, yeah, everyone there is dirt poor, and then China like helps them like repress their society, and then China's whole society is fucked up because they've got the concentration camps, and they've also got these like people living in like poverty. South Korea, I watched Parasite, and then like afterwards I was like, what's this about? And I like didn't, because I'd been to South Korea, and I remember I just like, because I was a kid and I was like, this is amazing, this is so cool, and my best friend was South Korean, and I was like, wow, like I understand you more, like, because she like talked about food and shit, and I like now kind of knew what she was talking about, but apparently they have like a massive economic disparity as well.
Oh, okay, so like the film was like way more relevant to them.
But it's like, I think it's also like one of those countries you don't think about, like no one's ever like, because obviously China's like politics has a lot of impact on us, whereas no one really focuses on like what's happening in South Korea. I think there's fucked up shit everywhere. Like there's just a lot more poverty than we think about, and there's I can think of like a cool little fun fact, international relations story. So there's this islands called the Chagos Islands, and they they are a British colony.
Yeah.
They're these tiny little islands, and basically they were originally colonized by French people like hundreds of years ago, who moved there and they started these like coconut plantations.
Yeah.
And they like lived these like fun little plantation lives, and they had their island, and they were like super happy. But they're owned by Britain. And then recently-ish, America was like, we want a army base.
Yeah.
Where can we put it? And England was like, we've got these islands called the Chagos Islands.
Yeah.
You can totally use that area. And America was like, okay, but we don't want anyone living there.
Yeah.
So they just kicked everyone off.
Yeah.
And that was it. Like, they didn't pay them for anything. They didn't, like, give them anywhere to go. They literally were just like, you're gone.
Yeah.
And now there's, like, these Chagosians, I don't know how you say it.
Yeah.
But they all, I think most of them, there's, like, a little, like, diaspora of them in England. And they're, like, trying to, like, win their rights back and, like, raise awareness about their situation. That they've just, like, literally, like, their skills were in, like, agriculture, and now they just have nothing, and they're like trying to get some rights from England. So it's like fucked, but it's also like cute that there's like this little community out there that's like fighting for itself. Yeah.
What's like the how do you as like if you want to go into like international relations, if you want to deal with like situations like those and like mediate them and like sort out relationships between different countries and like how they deal with each other to not be so fucked up, like what are your what's like a path that you sort of take, like how do you get into that? It seems like just so fucking weird. Like
yeah, I feel like that's something I'm still looking at. I think it's one of those things where there's lots of different paths. Like the main thing I see a lot of people do is like specialize in an area. Like they'll be like, okay, well, I'm going to become like really invested in like Peruvian human rights. Which I think I'm too scattered at the moment, but I kind of like that. Like I don't want to be like too invested in like this one small thing. Like I want to like kind of have that like comparison and like context. So I think just like I've had this different way. Like you can go into from like an activist, like you can just like start like volunteering and like looking up like what are the organizations that are part of this. Like so there's probably like a organization run. I know like for Israel, for example, there's like the parties involved are like the Israeli government, the Palestinian government, and there's a organization called the Quartet that like it's Israel, I think Russia for some reason, Europe and Palestine like all together, like that helps mediate stuff. So you can go like via like find the organizations involved and like just try and get a job with them, or just like just go like on the ground and try and like volunteer and help.
Do you like, when you say go on the ground, like could I go on the ground from like Australia? Like how does that work?
I think I meant more like going, like you could you could go, like you could literally like go to these places and like help, like, you know, like literally like work in like a refugee shelter or something like that.
Yeah.
Or you could you like I think there's lots of charities here that like work to raise awareness for like there's definitely like Palestinian organizations and like Latin American organizations that like try and like encourage Australians to like get involved internationally. But I think the thing I struggle with is like trying to make like actual change. Like I think the issue with the whole kind of international relations field is that it's very like I think the process has to move slowly for it to be effective. But it's still like it's very like, oh, let's just like tick boxes and like like it's not solutions focused, and like it's kind of more like just kind of trying to make stuff better, not being like we want to.
Yeah.
It's not like we want to end poverty. It's more like, oh, let's try and make poverty slightly less sucky, which I don't like that, but like, yeah, I feel like that's the same thing if you look up like like the United Nations obviously has a lot of fingers and a lot of pies, I think is the saying, but they're like very criticized for not being effective, and also for having a lot of influence. Like they've got a lot of US influence.
Oh yeah.
So I feel like in my ideal world, the pathway that I would take would end me up in like, I feel like if I control the world, I would create like another United Nations that could like either I could use the idea of like like capitalist competitiveness to like make the UN better.
Yeah.
Or to like just be completely non-biased, like really try and get like not allow countries to have more of a say than others, because that's currently how it works.
What if like there's a country with like, just trying to think of a country with a really low population versus like China if they were in the United Nations.
Well, I feel like it's more like the issues.
Was it like, do you mean like mediating between like the two? It's like if one of them's favored, then like if you're telling me that the US is like more favored and the US has like a dispute with someone, that's like the US is just gonna get it no matter what. Like
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Whereas I feel like like the population thing like is obviously like if like using Israel again as an example, America's quite invested in Israel.
Yeah.
And so if Palestine was to gain like sovereignty, then it would affect America, and it would affect Israel, and it would affect like a lot of these players directly, whereas in maybe like Samoa doesn't have any stake in what happens in that conflict.
Gotcha.
Then like, yeah, I can see what you're saying, where it's like, well, why? Like people will, if you have obviously if you have a stake in something, you're going to react differently.
No, for sure. Like I was just like saying, I think I was saying with like the idea that you make another United Nations with like the ideal one.
Yeah.
And then it's like, yeah, but then I'm comparing that to like the problems that we have here, which is, yeah.
I feel like it's more, there was this really cool movement called the non-aligned movement. And it was basically during the Cold War when like all these countries, like I think Pakistan, maybe Indonesia, I can't actually remember the exact countries that were in it. There was all these like Egypt, like countries that like aren't necessarily at the forefront of international relations, and they formed this like movement together, and they were like, we're not one, they were like, we're not aligning ourselves between like Russia and the US, but also I think they were kind of like, we need to, they made like a pact with each other. It was very like non-practical though, like there was no like sign on the dot like thing, which I think is like where it could move to, but it was more like we need to look out for each other, like, and we need to realize like we all have similar stakes in stuff that's happening, so we should support each other. Yeah.
What do you think about like the EU? Because that's like, that sounds like what that is, but like actually a bit more formalized, like
yeah.
currency.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like that's kind of, I never thought about that, but yeah, that's cool. I think it's like a good example of like how it's called like governance, and basically like the underlying issue with international relations is anarchy. So it's the fact that there's nothing, like obviously you have national laws, but there's really nothing internationally that can persuade any country to do anything.
Yeah. So
having the EU is good because it had like there's so much motivation for countries in the EU to stay in the EU. Yeah. Because it helps them so much, but it also kind of provides that governance between the countries. Yeah. So yeah, if you could just like grow the EU or even have like lots of different EUs. Like if we could all like formalize like an Australasian EU, which I guess would be what's it, European Union, Australasian Union, like, and so that way it would mean that like if Australia makes a decision, the Pacific Island countries are also included in that, and we all kind of coexist better. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I read a thing ages ago that was like, and it makes so much sense. But it was like, given enough time, we're all gonna kill each other, or we're gonna like be like one thing.
Yeah, that's cool.
Which makes so much sense to me, like,
Yeah.
because there's just like infinite time. Where we eventually have to like be cool with each other.
Yeah.
We eventually have to like kill each other.
Yeah.
Like, there's no, yeah. So the idea of the EU is like, well, the EU is like a step towards us all being like under one.
Yeah.
I don't know what the right word is, like, not organization, but
Like umbrella.
yeah.
I think this might be disagreeable, but like I think it's also like the issue with it is that like when you picture like one international thing, you like there's obviously an issue with like imperialism and like cultures getting lost, whereas I feel like the EU has successfully like all the countries still have a very strong culture.
Exactly.
Like you don't go to like Hungary and be like, ugh, it's just another EU country.
Yeah,
like
yeah. Exactly.
But that's cool. I know. Also, I feel like technology will play a part in it. Like I was thinking, like how you were saying, we could all become one or all kill each other.
Yeah.
I remember talking to Marche from work and about like, cause I think he studied like psychology or something like that, about how computers are just working their way towards becoming like this one all-knowing thing.
Yeah.
So maybe a computer will get there first, and maybe that EU will just be like this one computer that's like literally all-knowing, like God.
Yeah.
Like a robot God.
Fuck.
Yeah. But I don't know. Or we could kill each other first. Yeah.
Or it could become like Skynet and send Terminators back in time to murder us.
I had a dream about Terminators last night. Like literally had a dream about Terminators. It was like I was in like this crater, and there was a Terminator with us, but he was like a good Terminator.
Yeah.
And then there was another like more evil The only Terminator I've seen was the most recent one.
What?
Yeah, it's just key. I feel like this is important. And so it was basically that. It was like we had this Terminator, so we felt like we were top shit. And then the better Terminator came along, and he like scratched our Terminator, and we were like, holy shit, he's not actually invincible.
God damn, because like the last Terminator really like fucks the good Terminators. So like you're gonna watch the good Terminators and you're gonna be like,
I thought the last one was alright.
That's because you haven't seen the first two. And like the whole time that you're watching the first two, you're gonna be like, none of this matters because the last Terminator completely disregards all of this. So like you're not gonna be as invested.
Yeah.
Because it's like, no, even if they win or even if they don't win, like nothing matters because everything is like undone in like the last one.
I feel like the last one was like a feminist push though. Like I remember watching it, and the whole thing was like, you're the mother of the next whatever it was. And then it was like, no, it was her all along. Yeah. Like I was like, I feel like it's like the moment in Avengers that everyone hated where like all the women came together. Like that's how I felt that whole entire movie was. But there was Spanish in it, so I was like, fuck yeah. All right, I'll watch. I actually had no intention of watching the Terminator series, but
like just the first two. They're really good.
Okay. Yeah. Damn. What do you reckon is like your favorite series?
What do you mean by series? You gotta really define.
Like movie series, like movie franchise.
I think I might just say like right now, this is today.
Yeah.
This is today. I think I might just say like View Askew, which is like the Kevin Smith sort of universe. It's just like this director that like made like a bunch of movies, but then there's like some characters that like are in different movies.
That's cool.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's very cool.
I think I would have said like Star Wars before, but like I'm not like Star Wars has just gone in like a different place now.
Yeah.
And like also like I really like the TV aspect of it now more than
Yeah.
the movies, and I feel like Lord of the Rings, like The Hobbit, which sort of as well like dragged Lord of the Rings down.
That's also the only Lord of the Rings movie I've ever seen.
Oh,
I think.
fucking hell.
I saw the one where they like go. There's a really hot guy in it with the hot kids.
With the hot kids.
Like I tried. Like the okay. There's I'm gonna like not focus on that bit.
I want to know what you're talking about.
It's like they go. There's the hobbits, and they're going to like a volcano, I think.
Yeah.
And there's like a boat town at the end. Is that the Hobbit?
Yeah, but it's also the Lord of the Rings sort of, except for the boat town.
Okay, well the boat town was like the only bit I remember because that's where the hot guy came in.
Oh yeah, totally.
So whichever one had like
Yeah, I think that
a
was
boat town.
the second Hobbit movie.
Yeah, that'd probably be it. I saw it with my friend who like loved Lord of the Rings. Like she was a diehard fan, so she got like tickets the day it came out.
Yeah.
So the theater was like packed, and I was just.
Oh, she loved it.
She loved she loved the
Gotcha.
But like and everyone like people were like dressed up, and I was just like there. I just really like I feel so. It's like you know when you're like sober and everyone's drunk, like that's how I felt. Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was alright. Again.
Yeah, it was alright. It was alright. Yeah, absolutely. But like when you watch Lord of the Rings, it's like wow. And then when you read the book, you're like, wow, they really did the movie. Like they really did a good job.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, everything that they like missed in the book is like, you're like, how high was the author when he like wrote this part? It's almost like a drug trip. This part, and like they just completely skipped over it in the movie, and I'm like, that makes so much sense.
Maybe they had like a sit down with the author where they were like, which bits were you high for? We're not going to include them. Like, interesting. I think I'll get around to watching Lord of the Rings like one day, but for now it's like part of my identity that I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. That's cool. Do you have a Star Wars tattoo, or am I making that up?
No, I think Kivas has a Star Wars. He does have the Star Wars tattoo, and I think that's what you're confusing.
Yeah, he does, but I felt like you have one too. Like somehow, I don't know.
No.
Somehow in my head, he like got that tattoo to like be like band of brothers with you. Like, do you have any tattoos?
No.
Okay, that's.
But I'm just thinking now that you said that. Have you seen like Have you seen like A New Hope?
Which,
Like Star Wars A New Hope.
Which number's that?
4, but it's like released first.
I would have seen it, but I don't know if I remember it.
Okay. Alright. Well, there's like a scene where like they destroy. Alright. No. There's a scene
They
where
destroy
like,
the Death Star
yeah, I mean
in that
spoilers,
one.
but yeah.
Yeah,
It's
sorry.
fine, it's fine,
I
it's
feel
fine.
like everyone.
Everyone's
Okay.
Even you knew and you didn't see it.
I've seen it. I've seen it. Just like not like when I was like 15. Yeah.
I'm just like, as soon as you were like, do you have a tattoo that's Star Wars? I was like, it just came to my mind like instantly. Like the hole that like Luke shoots like the fucking rockets in of the Death Star to like blow it up.
Yeah.
I could like have that on my arse, like in my that could be my anus. Like that's what I'm imagining.
The second you said hole, I was like, I know this is going somewhere. Like,
like maybe my nutsack is like the two torpedoes that he shoots.
Yeah.
And like my arse is like the Death Star, and then my anus is like the exhaust port.
I mean, I feel like that's I feel like you're in a great position to get that because you're also not like having casual sex with random people.
So like, essentially what you're saying is like it's bad, but like
it's not bad. I think it'd just be like actually to be fair, like I don't think I've ever seen a guy's like anus. So I feel like if you're like you're probably fine. But it's probably you'd have to like show it. You'd have to like
for sure.
Yeah.
I would whip that out at parties.
Yeah.
For sure. Everyone would see my anus after that.
And then and like Lara would just put up with it, you know, like she'd just be like, all right.
I mean, yeah, she'd be like, he went to the effort of getting the tattoo, like I just have it and not show it.
You could do some like crazy Star Wars roleplay, like
for sure.
code words, like let's torpedo the exhaust pipe. Like,
fuck. Oh man. Yeah.
I hope your mum's not here again.
No,
I was
no.
like,
But like she does listen to the podcast. So.
oh, nice.
Yeah, it's like my only viewer, I'm assuming.
I listen. I'm definitely not up to date.
You definitely know what?
Up to date.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine. Like,
Okay.
yeah, it's all good. I'm like, I haven't even really like told anyone yet, so.
You should do like a big media release just with your tattoo. Be like, you want to know more about this?
Yeah. This episode has all the context. I would literally just have to have my whole ass like tattooed.
I just feel imagine being the tattoo artist. I wonder if like you could get someone to do it.
For sure. Yeah. I really think like money solves a lot of issues, and I feel like I have this tattoo idea and I'd be like, alright, that costs this much.
Yeah.
And like in his head, maybe he's gonna say a number that's like a bit higher.
Yeah.
To like dissuade me, but like also if he has to do it, like he'll be getting that extra money.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just feel like that's what will happen if I did.
I just like I don't think I could stare at someone else's butthole for that long. I'd just be like.
What if? Yeah, that's because you haven't seen one like with the fucking Death Star on it. Like,
Yeah, true. It's like the people that get like the cats on their belly button with the tail up, so like their belly button's the cat's anus.
oh,
Yeah.
I've never seen that.
Oh,
That sounds
really?
great.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, the cat here hasn't come back for ages.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I was actually thinking about him today because I was like saying goodbye to my dog, and I was like, I'm gonna go play with a cat now,
Yeah.
and then that's sad.
Yeah, I feel like I think Diego said he saw it in the neighbor's house, like
Damn.
through their window.
Yeah.
Like one day, and like so I'm assuming what happened is like they would keep it in their house, because when they weren't keeping it in the house, it was coming over here and staying here.
Yeah.
And then this one time it rained and it just fucking stayed here for like the whole weekend. And I feel like after that they were like, we're not getting out of the house again because you go missing. Yeah.
You should like leave them like a little letter being like, we take care of him, don't worry.
I was also thinking at the start, like, I was really conflicted about like being nice to it, because if it knows that like I'm like if it has it in its head that I'm taking care of it and like I'm not willing to like take care of it
Yeah.
like, forever, then why am I trading it to rely on me?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I was super like, oh, this is my cat now. But then, like, I don't know what.
You should maybe Matt and I should have gotten you a cat instead of a haunted clock.
No, it's right. Like, I don't want to be given a cat. I want a cat to choose me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
My grandmother was like that. So my mom growing up, they had like 12 cats, and they all their names started with a P as well. It was like Pee-wee, Pom Pom, Pootsy, like weird shit. And they didn't buy any of them. They all just turned up. Yeah. And like there was one, like sometimes they like look like each other. Like my mom has a story of like her dad coming out to like his car, and there was a cat sitting on it, and he thought it was like their cat. So he like went to like knock him off, like grab him off the car. Yeah. But the cat was like injured. Like it was like an injured cat that's like sought shelter in the garage. And so like when he touched like the back of its neck, it was like bloody and like gross. So they like stitched it up and then just adopted it.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
So they just took it away.
Yeah, like you're ours now. Yeah. But yeah. So that can be you.
Yeah. Yeah, like I don't think I was ready for a pet, but I was like, well, if I'm not going and buying the cat, I don't know, there's something, I feel like I have to be 100% ready to go and buy a pet.
Yeah.
But if the pet needs help and I'm willing, then
yeah.
I feel like I can justify that, even if I'm not 100% like, I don't know, what's the word? Like
committed?
Not committed, but just like, I don't know, like able to take care of shit.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Like, you needed someone anyway, so like, even if I can't give you the best, then like...
You feel more like temporary. Like I feel like if you buy a cat, you're like, this is my cat for the next 15 years.
Yeah.
And like, who the fuck knows what's going to happen in that time?
Yeah.
Whereas if a cat turned up, you could be like, I'll take care of you while I can. And then when I can't, I'll like admit that I have you. And
even that, I was like, no, like I've still got to take care of it if I have to take care of it. There was like a time where I was like, it's not coming in the house, like unless it's ours.
Yeah.
But then we got over that. I fucking like just, I don't know, it's cool. Because I remember like I was like waking up at 5 a.m. Like I set my alarm to wake up at 5 a.m. every day, and like that's when I would do my work.
Yeah.
And I was like struggling. I'm like, the one day the cat was like slept in the house, I like fucking woke up. I was like, oh my god, it's 5 a.m. And then like, I went and like rushed to like see the cat.
Aw,
Yeah.
that's cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember you sent me that link for the consular officer job.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, I woke up at like 8 something. I can't remember. Like, I woke up like early by my standards.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck yeah. And you'd sent it to me like 2 hours earlier. And I was like, is Michael okay? And I just remembered that that's like what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's cute. You should get like a foster cat, like cat mind. There's sites where you can be like, I can mind your pet. But I feel like it's better if you go to their house, maybe.
Oh, like you just hang out with their pet at their house.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Or they can drop your pet. I minded a cat once, which it ended up being like my old high school teacher's husband's cat. But I didn't know that when I... Not the French one. I didn't know that when I like agreed to mind it. I just like was on this website and this guy was like, hey, my wife hates my cat and we're going away. Can we leave it? Like, can someone mind it? I was like, yeah, okay. So we like brought it over and I looked after it for 2 weeks and he paid me like $200.
Cool.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Holy shit, we could have like a hostel of cats.
Oh my God.
Fuck.
Or dogs as well. I think you can do it with dogs. Yeah.
I think dogs would just be like... I feel like you wouldn't be able to give all the dogs the attention they want. And
Yeah.
like, I'd actually feel bad about that, but with the cats, it's like, you don't want to be around them.
Oh yeah.
Like,
With my dog, I get like, she gives me like animal rights passion, where like I look at her like living her shitty life, which like isn't a bad life at all, but like she just like there's nothing to like stimulate her daily. I'm like, what are you looking forward to in your life? Like this is your life. like she doesn't know it, but like I know it.
Yeah.
And I look at her and I'm like, you're literally just gonna like wake up, get excited that we're all awake, we'll all go to work, sit there all day. And then we come back, we walk you, and that's your life for like the next 10 years. And you don't like, and so I'm like, we need to like improve our quality of life. But then, like, I don't know how, like I don't know how to do it.
yeah.
So then it's just, it's
I think like when I was around, I think just once I started going to uni, I was like, I don't want a dog anymore. And like, I'd always wanted a dog before then.
yeah.
And once I started going to uni, I was like, it doesn't, even if I have a dog, I feel bad now.
Yeah.
Because before, like, my parents would be like, you're not going to take care of her. And I'd be like, I'll fucking I'll take care of the shit out of her. But, like, then I hit a point where I was like, yeah, I actually can't. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing, I'm literally, it's just, like, there for me when it's convenient for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't,
Yeah.
I feel like that would be slack for a dog. But, like, a cat is like, a cat doesn't even want to hang around you.
Yeah.
When you're there, so it's like, it's fine.
Yeah.
You just give it some toys and food and...
I feel like they just entertain themselves. Like, they're good at just being like, I'm going to leave now.
Yeah.
I'm going to go over to those people's house and just hang out with them.
You saw when he came here for like the first time in like a week that time, and I grabbed, like, I was like, oh my God, and then like it didn't care. Like,
Aw.
because in my head I was like, we had all those moments at 5 o'clock. You'd wake up, I'd give you food, you'd come like sleep on my lap, I'd do some work. I feel that I can't move because you're on my lap. and then you didn't care a week later.
That's cats.
But that's fine. Like it's more like I'm morally like it's better. It's more in line with my morals if the cat
Yeah.
doesn't like me as much as I like it. Whereas with a dog,
Yeah, it's always gonna love you more. Yeah. You should move to Israel. I think I told you about there's like stray cats everywhere.
Yeah.
But they're all like really well off.
yeah,
And like one of the last nights I was there, the cat just like came into my apartment. Like it rode up the elevator with someone and then came into my apartment. And I was like, all right, I need to like kick you out some stage. And I like tried to get my vegan friend to do it.
oh my God.
And she was like, I can't. Like, so she was like, I'll take it to my apartment. And then it wouldn't move. So I was like, I guess you can stay here. And it just like stayed there overnight.
Yeah.
And it stayed there for like over 24 hours. Like didn't shit. Like I like woke up the next morning. I was like, oh, there's going to be like piss or shit somewhere. Like I'm going to have to clean it up. Nah. And then it just like, I like coaxed it out with tuna one day and it left.
Dude, I reckon like that. I reckon if the cats are like living like that, they know to like not shit in your house.
Yeah, true. It was
know?
probably like if I play my cards right, I
Yeah.
can live here forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would like look out the window at like all the cats like down below like suck shit. Like
Fuck. It's in like the luxury apartment of kind.
like literally like God like
Yeah.
looking down on them.
All the cats are peasants. At the
Yeah.
bottom.
So you just need to find like a country. Just Google countries that have like stray cats everywhere. And you can probably have like 50 cats, like rotating cast. Like, get them on your podcast.
Oh man, that one time the cat came in like while we were recording, and she was like just stopped here, and I was like, she doesn't really like me like grabbing her.
Yeah.
But I was like, I feel like you want me to grab you, so like I grabbed her, and then she just like hung out like right here on my lap.
Aww.
Yeah.
That's the dream.
Cats are cool.
But yeah.
Yeah. Should we like wrap it up around here?
Yeah, if
Do
you
you
want.
think you have is there any more you want to say on like is there any more you want to say?
I don't think so. Is there anything you want to say? Should I ask you any questions?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not about you. We
Okay.
haven't had the one where like I get asked questions yet, but
Okay.
we'll do that soon.
Nice.
Yeah. Do you have any shout outs?
No.
Fuck everyone.
Yeah.